Hi everybody. I wanted to explain to you how to do the Unit 1 Personal Essay Organization Worksheet. To get to that assignment, you can click on the link in the weekly instructions or announcements, or you can go up to Content, choose Unit 1 Personal Essay Writing, and go down to the Assignments, and then scroll down until you get to the Personal Essay Development and Organization assignment. What you're doing here is basically taking the information that you are providing in English 101 and putting it into a organization document, starting with your brainstorming and then choosing your topic and thesis, and then organizing your essay using an outline format. This will help you with your English 101 assignment, so you really want to do this assignment here before you submit the outline for your English 101 class. There is a sample or a template for the Personal Essay Development and Organization Worksheet. So if you click it up here or here, either place, and you'll see this Word document. Here there are 4 items that you need to fill in. The first one has to do with the brainstorming that you did in English 101. So for English 101, you brainstormed 3 ideas that might work for your personal essay based on the 3 potential prompts that were given to you. If you chose just one of them, then you would use that to answer question 1. If you gave an example of an idea for each of those prompts, which I think many students did, then for question number 1, where it says which prompt did you use, just choose one of them. The idea here is to have you look at a writing prompt and break it down into its pieces so that you're sure to answer that prompt fully when you type your essay. So for example, if you chose the first one, explain a time when one or more of the critical thinking behaviors or characteristics influenced your behavior, here in question 1, you're going to break that prompt into pieces. So what's the first piece? Well, you're going to explain a time. So you'll have to think of an event or a situation. Then, what's the next piece? When one or more of the critical thinking behaviors. So you need to know that it's going, I guess I could put here, explain a time when. And then the next thing would be critical thinking characteristics. So all you're doing in question 1 is taking the prompt and breaking it down into pieces so you can see the different parts. Some of the prompts have separate questions, so obviously those are different pieces of it, but even within a statement, you can see the different pieces of it. So just break that prompt down into pieces. Again, you only need to do one. If you just chose one prompt and gave 3 different ideas for it, obviously that is the prompt you will use. If you gave an example for each of the prompts, then just choose one of them to list here in question 1. Okay, moving on to question 2. This is based on those 3 ideas that you brainstormed in English 101. And that assignment should already be done before you start working on this document. So for the topic 1, 2, and 3, just list what you put in your brainstorming for English 101. Try to flush it out a little bit so that I understand, what the idea was. But still, a sentence or 2 should be fine. All right, now we come to question 3. this is where in English 101, you're going to decide which topic you actually want to use for your essay. Of course, you're going to want to see my feedback on your brainstorming. Look at what your peers said as well as they replied to your 3 ideas, and then decide which one do you think is the best one to use for my essay. And so that is what you'll write in question 3. And then the last part of this is kind of the biggest part, and the part that this is really designed to help you practice before you submit for English 101, and that is to outline your essay. So now that I've decided the topic, how am I going to organize the different ideas that I have in a way that will make sense for the essay? So there is a template for you to use. So you can simply fill in this information. You can adjust it as needed, but probably you can use it just as is, depending on exactly what you're wanting to say. So of course, this is all based on the topic and thesis that you chose. And by the way, those are graded in English 101, so you would get my feedback to make sure that's looking good. All right, so you can type on this document. Sometimes it does some weird things. I'm going to do this. So it might be a little weird, but you should be able to type on it. So you're going to start your essay out with some kind of attention getter. In the story that you read, The Danger of a Single Story, the author started out by saying, I am a storyteller, which kind of gets our interest. So what are you going to start out with that's going to get the attention of the audience? You don't necessarily have to put the complete sentence. You can describe what you're going to do or give a short phrase. But how are you going to draw your reader in to want to read your essay? In B, you want to give some background information. So what does the reader need to know in order to get to your thesis statement, which will be the end of your introduction? This is not where you tell your story. This is not where you give all your evidence for the essay that you're writing, but this is what information do we need to know. A little bit of the who, what, when, where, why. Is this something about when you were a child, when you were in high school, in college? Is this something to do with making choices? Is this something to do with trying something new? So what kind of information do you need to give? Again, you're not writing your essay at this point. You're just putting down some notes or phrases to indicate what you need to put there. And then the last part of your introduction will be your thesis statement. Why are you writing this? What point are you trying to make by telling us this story? And it should be linked in some way to critical thinking. So the time I broke my arm taught me some invaluable lessons about thinking critically, or something along that line. That one you might want to write out as a full sentence, but a phrase is also okay. Then we have the body paragraphs. And of course, most stories have a beginning, middle, and an end. So if you're telling one story, then you want to tell what happened first, what happened next, and what happened last. This also might work if you're saying how the situation developed, and then how you used critical thinking skills, or maybe didn't use critical thinking skills in that situation, and then the ramifications of that. What were the effects? What were the results of that situation? So I think 3 pieces, 3 body paragraphs would work well for most stories for this kind of an essay. But if for some reason you find that you need 4 body paragraphs, then you can just add to this document. And I think the way to do that is to highlight, right-click, and insert rows below. Oh, actually, that's going to just add to that paragraph. Probably what you could do is just highlight the whole section, copy it, and then paste it. So now of course, I would have to change this to the 5th body paragraph. So again, I don't think you would need to do that. And I think most of you would need 3, not just 2. But if necessary for what you're trying to say and you find that you really need another body paragraph, you can adjust this as needed. Okay, and then within each body paragraph, you're going to list your details. This should not be written out in sentence format. These should be ideas, phrases to show what you're going to include in that paragraph. There's 3 details available. If you need more, then I don't think that, yeah, the tab key doesn't work. This is where you insert rows below. Now, the other thing is that if you find that working with this template is difficult for you or just isn't working, as long as you give me this information, I don't care that it's on this template. You can type it fresh on a separate page. So again, the ABC is a good guide, but you can add to that or even A and B. You wouldn't want to just have one detail in a paragraph, at least 2. I would say at least 3 probably. All right, and then for the conclusion, you're not going to provide any new information, but you're going to reflect on the significance of this story and again tie back to your thesis. So there's a couple of spaces here for you to write like how you're going to do that. Again, we shouldn't be using complete sentences on this document. Use phrases or just brief explanations of what you're going to do. This is a good way to organize your work and let's see if I can get this back on one page. And then from your outline, you'll be actually writing your draft of the essay. And then don't forget that in your conclusion, put in a final concluding sentence to just give that feeling of wrapping everything up. Okay, hopefully that will help you as you work on this document.